My wife asked her lover to walk my daughter down the aisle. I pulled wedding funding, exposed their affair, and collapsed the ceremony in silence. She wants Greg to walk her down the aisle. That sentence, that one sentence, is what shattered 20 years of fatherhood like a cheap wine glass. We were sitting at the kitchen table, me in my weekend flannel, half listening, waiting for Monica to finish her grocery list so I could run out for eggs and windshield washer fluid. Instead, she folded her hands, looked at me like she was about to break up with a barista, and dropped that damn sentence with the emotional weight of a post-it note. Rachel wants Greg to walk her down the aisle. I did not speak. My jaw did not drop. I did not shout. I blinked once, twice, like I'd just been slapped with a wet newspaper in a language I could not read. Greg, I said it like I just remembered a bad dream. The guy who is always just helping around. Monica did not flinch. She feels close to him. Do not make this difficult. And just like that, she picked up her coffee like we were talking about whether to get rye or sourdough for the sandwiches. Let me paint the picture just so you understand the flavor of this betrayal. I met Monica when Rachel was 7. Her dad vanished. No postcards, no court-ordered visits, just poof. I was the guy who taught Rachel to ride a bike, stayed up all night helping her build a solar system diorama out of foam balls, and drove 6 hours to bail her out when her car battery died in the middle of a college snowstorm. I funded her degree, covered Monica's credit card debt more times than I can count, and yes, paid for every sin of this damn wedding. And now, Greg, the family friend who always showed up a little too eager to help Monica with home repairs, who never looked me straight in the eye. He gets the honor. I stood up without a word. The chair scraped back slowly on the tile, making this long, awkward screech. Monica did not even look up. I walked into the garage, closed the door, and sat in the silence for maybe 10 minutes. I was not sad. Not exactly. It was colder than that. You ever step out into a Midwestern winter morning so sharp it strips your lungs on the inhale? That is what I felt. Internally frostbitten. And if you are reading this and you have ever raised someone else's kid, yeah, you felt that, did not you? Before I go on, 98% of you who listen to stories like this have not subscribed yet, and honestly, it means a lot to our small team. If this hit you in the gut the way it hit me in the kitchen that day, take 2 seconds and subscribe. It keeps us going. Back to that garage. I sat down in front of an old workbench, tools hanging on pegboard, cobwebs around the mower, but one thing stood out, a picture. Rachel, age 9, on my shoulders at the zoo. Her hands wrapped in my hair, that smile missing her 2 front teeth. I do not even remember the day we took it, but looking at it now, it felt like a relic from a history someone had just redacted. And Greg, the way Monica said his name with no shame, no hesitation, like I was the one causing drama just by reacting. That is when something snapped. Not out of rage, no, rage is messy. Rage burns out quick. This was something much, much colder. I did not rage. I planned because if Monica thought I would just write another check, shake Greg's hand, and smile for the photos like some neutered Hallmark husband, she forgot something very important. I do not make scenes. I make decisions. I did not sleep that night, not because of heartbreak, but because my mind finally found traction. Pain turned into motion, planning precision. By 3:12 a.m. I'd opened the wedding spreadsheet Monica shared with me 6 months ago. Venue balance due Friday, catering paid in full, photographer final deposit sitting in our joint checking account. I transferred it quietly to a personal account Monica had no access to. I called the tuck shop and told them to cancel my fitting. Told them I would not be attending. I did not rage. I redlined my presence. Then I opened a drawer in the garage I had not touched in years. Inside, tucked behind a box of brittle Christmas lights and a rusted socket wrench, was a sticky note, a name and number in faded ink. Ed Dunning, Private Investigations. I used him once years ago to confirm that an employee at my construction firm was skimming material off job sites. Ed found the guy in 2 days. Photos, receipts, everything. I gave him a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue as a thank you. I dialed his number. He answered on the second ring like he had been waiting for me since 2009. Alan, he said, not a question. I want to know who Greg really is. A pause. Greg who? I gave him the full name. Gregory N. Brandt, born in Ohio, used to run a landscaping business, now seems to live off consulting. Never quite had a clear title at any job he claimed to work. He is my wife's longtime friend, I said. My stepdaughter wants him to walk her down the aisle. Something does not add up. I heard Ed's pen scratching. Okay, how far back do you want me to dig? All of it. You want criminal records? Social, financial? Yes, I said. And if there is a hotel involved, I want to know which one, when, and what card paid for it. He gave a low chuckle. You are not playing around. I never do. The call ended. I turned off the garage light and stood there in the dark, the cold creeping into my knees. I did not feel righteous. I felt surgical. I was not going to confront Monica. I was not going to make this a soap opera with screaming matches and slammed doors. No, I was going to dissect this root with a scalpel quietly, thoroughly, irrefutably. The next morning, Monica greeted me with coffee and a chirpy voice like nothing had happened. Rachel's dress fitting went so well yesterday, she cried a little. I gave a tight smile. She is lucky to have you helping her, she beamed. Not a flicker of suspicion. That is the thing about liars. They assume silence means ignorance. Rachel texted me 2 hours later. Thanks for understanding. I know it is weird, but Greg has always been like a second dad to me. Second dad. That line hit harder than the first because no, Rachel did not know the things I had done for her were not just about love. They were about trying to give her a life better than the one she was born into. And Greg just showed up with barbecues and bad jokes. But now he was the one who would get to escort her down the aisle. No, not without a little truth first. That night, I bought a locking fireproof box and put it in the back of my closet. Inside, I placed a copy of Rachel's first car title registered under my name. College tuition receipts, every Christmas card she ever gave me, and a fresh notepad. At the top of the first page, I wrote in all caps, "Who is Gregory Brandt?" Then I waited because revenge is not loud. It waits until it is every piece in place. Ed's report arrived in a plain manila envelope on a Thursday morning, slipped between a Home Depot coupon flyer and a credit card offer. Monica was out running errands, her euphemism for overpriced lattes and curated Target hauls, so I had the house to myself. I locked the office door, drew the blinds, and opened it with the same calm hands I used to hold a nail gun. 10 pages, photos, financial records, names, dates, hotel check-ins, and the kicker, room service receipts signed M and G 6 years ago while Rachel was starting her freshman year and Monica was sobbing in my arms about emptiness syndrome. She was screwing Greg at the Oak Ridge Courtyard by Marriott. Room 218, June 14th. $31,148 charged to Monica's Chase Sapphire card, which for the record, I paid off every month. It did not end there. The affair flickered back on again a year later. Hotel in Cincinnati this time and again 2 years after that. Overlapping with the month I drained a certificate of deposit to cover Rachel's final semester when her scholarships fell short. Greg was not just a friend, he was the maintenance man in Monica's hidden life. No job history, no tax records in 5 years, just a few bounce checks, a judgment for unpaid child support in another county, and a suspicious number of Venmo transactions labeled "Thanks Red Heart from Monica." Greg was quite literally a parasite. I did not yell. I did not call her. I did not throw a single goddamn thing. I printed 3 copies of the full report and slid them into a labeled accordion folder. Exhibit A, Gregory N. Brandt Infidelity and Financial Documentation. Then I made an appointment with my attorney. Tessa Cole is not a warm woman. She is surgical, the kind who wears fitted suits, answers her own phone, and has eyes like a bloodhound in a murder trial. We met in a small downtown office I had not visited in years. "Are we doing divorce paperwork?" she asked without a smile. "No, not yet," I said, "but I need asset separation options and I need a trigger plan." Her brows lifted. "Trigger plan." I slid the file across the table. If she does anything further, if she tries to pull any financial move, or if this wedding spins the way I think it will, I want protections in place. Preemptive. She flipped through the pages, skimmed the photos, and gave a short exhale that almost counted as a laugh. "You planning to drop this on her at the altar?" I shook my head. "No, not directly. I wanted to do damage without me saying a word." "Collateral damage?" "No, I said surgical damage." Tessa nodded once and started writing. We set up a revocable trust. I had already shifted large chunks of our joint assets into protected accounts, but this would finalize the transition. We revoked Monica's access to 3 of our shared credit cards, all without her noticing. Just slow declines waiting to happen. Subtle, undeniable. I also added a clause in the wedding vendor agreements, newly reissued under my name alone. Every contract now had a condition. If I was removed from any official ceremony role without written agreement, service would be subject to immediate cancellation. Tessa added one more touch, a notarized statement revoking Monica's authority on any shared assets, citing marital dishonesty as cause. It was not enforceable in all courts, but it would look powerful in the right hands. I left the office that day with a hard copy of every signed document folded inside an envelope with a blood-red sticker seal. It looked like something from a spy movie. Fitting. I drove home with the windows down. The spring air was sharp, clean. I watched kids toss a football in someone's yard. One of them shouted, "Dad, watch this," and I thought he has no idea how lucky he is to just be dad without asterisks. Back home, Monica was in the kitchen making sangria, humming to some 2000s throwback on her phone. She looked up, cheerful as ever. "You have been quiet lately." I smiled. "Just a lot on my plate." She kissed my cheek, too distracted to see the envelope peeking out of my jacket. That night, I did not sleep either, but not because I was anxious, because I was ready. Her name was Jenna Wilkes, early 30s, efficient in that clipboard is my sword kind of way, the kind of wedding planner who could pivot from champagne shortage to bridal meltdown without smudging her lipstick. Monica adored her, said Jenna had taste and understood Rachel's vision. I did not care about any of that. I just cared that she followed rules. We met 3 days before the wedding at the venue, a vineyard with way too many antique bird cages hanging from trees. Jenna was organizing floral placements when I approached her from behind, envelope in hand. "Do you have a second?" I asked. She turned, startled, then relaxed into a practiced smile. "Of course. Everything okay, Mr. Holbrook? Let us talk over there." I nodded toward the little side arbor away from the crew and the curious stares of Monica's wine-sipping bridesmaids. Once we were out of earshot, I handed her the envelope, thick-sealed, marked with a small red circle drawn in Sharpie. "What is this?" she asked. "Instructions for if something changes during the ceremony." "Changes?" "If Monica or Rachel tries to alter any part of the plan, readings, lineup, ceremony order, especially regarding who walks Rachel down the aisle, open that envelope." She blinked. "Okay, that is oddly specific." I met her eyes. "It will not be needed if everything goes as scheduled, but if anyone deviates, even slightly, you read what is inside and follow it." She hesitated, glancing down at the envelope like it might hiss at her. "Can I ask what this is about?" "No, you cannot." Her brows pulled in. I could see the conflict. But then she gave a short nod and slipped it into her leather-bound planner right between the seating chart and her emergency stain removal pen. "Understood. Thank you," I said. "This is not a prank. It is not some last-minute drama, but you will understand if the time comes." The air between us shifted. She suddenly looked like someone who had just realized they had agreed to babysit a hand grenade. Back at the main hall, Monica was fluttering around, directing table runners, and pretending she was not allergic to hydrangeas. Rachel was trying on her second pair of backup heels. Neither of them noticed the envelope or the weight it carried, and Greg was there too, walking around like he was best man and proud uncle rolled into one. He wore my shoes. I mean, literally my shoes. Monica must have pulled them from my closet for the fitting I canceled. I caught him laughing with one of the groomsmen about doing the right thing and how weddings make everyone emotional. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought I heard my molars crack. But I did not say anything. I did not make a scene. I simply stood by the gift table, adjusted a card box that did not need adjusting, and let the tension simmer under my skin because now there was a mechanism, a trigger, a fuse just waiting for a spark. The envelope was no longer in my hands, and that was exactly how I wanted it. The sun came up like it had no clue what was about to happen. Saturday, 72 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. One of those postcard-perfect vineyard mornings where even the bees seemed choreographed. Guests arrived in waves, linen suits, pastel dresses, clutches, and sunglasses. Their polite chatter floating over the manicured hedges like bubbles and overpriced champagne. The small chapel by the vines had been decked out in blush tones and white roses. Live string quartet, custom programs with Rachel and Greg's initials in gold foil. Someone from Monica's Pilates class commented, "It is just so tasteful." Greg stood near the chapel doors, grinning like a politician during a ribbon cutting. He wore my tux, my custom hand-tailored charcoal gray tux I had bought 2 years ago for a black tie gala Monica bailed on last minute. I recognized the slight taper at the wrists, the signature of a Montreal shop that only took 3 appointments per day. He looked ridiculous in it, like a raccoon in a Rolex. But the guests did not know that. They smiled, nodded, clinked glasses. A few whispered, "Is not that her stepdad's tux?" But were quickly shushed by Monica's orbit of enablers. Rachel, she was glowing. I will give her that. The kind of bridal radiance people spend thousands trying to fake in photos. Hair swept back, veil catching little flecks of sun, lips painted soft peach. She laughed as one of her friends adjusted the train. She posed. She cried the good kind, the curated Instagram kind. And not once did she ask, "Where is Alan?" Because I was not there. I was not in the pews. I was not in the groom's prep suite. I was not peeking from behind a tree to catch a glimpse like some sad Lifetime movie ex-husband. I was a ghost, a financial donor with no RS5P. And the weirdest part, they planned it that way. No mention in the program. No chair saved. No photo in the family through the years. Slideshow playing in the reception hall. Just gone. Like 2 decades of bandaging knees, buying science fair poster boards, and fixing busted taillights never happened. Monica, meanwhile, was in full bloom. White cocktail dress, diamond studs, hair done professionally in that I woke up flawless way that takes 3 hours. She floated between guests like she owned the vineyard, thanking people for coming, gushing over Rachel, cracking jokes about how Greg was part of the family from day one. I watched all this unfold from a distance, literally parked on the ridge above the vineyard, binoculars in my lap, a cold bottle of water sweating between my fingers. Not because I wanted to spy. I had already made my move, but because I wanted to see the illusion they worked so hard to build. And no, it was convincing. To the untrained eye, it looked like a dream wedding. No tension, no drama, no missing patriarch. Just smiles and violins and a man who had apparently earned the right to walk another man's daughter down the aisle while wearing his clothes. But for those paying close attention, there were cracks. A couple of my old friends from work had shown up out of respect, even though they had not seen Rachel since her high school graduation. I had funded the open bar, after all. They looked confused. I could tell. One of them leaned toward a cousin and whispered something. Another scanned the crowd for me. Then there was the planner, Jenna. Clipboard clutched a little tighter than usual. Her eyes kept darting to Monica, then to the envelope tucked in the back sleeve of her planner. She had not opened it, but she had not forgotten it either. Greg cracked his knuckles 3 times in under 5 minutes. Rachel glanced at her phone, frowned, then locked the screen. Monica checked her watch, then her phone, then her wine. The illusion was holding for now, but it was fraying because the man who built the stage was not on it, and the play was about to change. The first whisper did not even try to hide. "Where is Alan?" It came from the second row, a woman in a sky blue shawl fanning herself with a program. Did not he raise her? Another voice, hushed but sharp. Did not he pay for all this? That is the moment it began. The slow unraveling like the faint sound of fabric tearing in the background of a symphony. Most did not hear it yet. But the ones who did, they paused, looked around, eyes narrowed. Rachel froze mid-laugh. Someone had just complimented her shoes, and she was beaming when the second question drifted over. Her smile did not vanish. It just stalled, like a loading screen stuck at 99%. She turned, scanning the chapel vestibule. A flicker of doubt, brief and tight across her brow. Monica noticed it. "Sweetheart," she said, gliding over in that way only women who have perfected charm as a weapon can. "Do not listen to gossip. Just nerves. It is your day." Rachel opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but stopped. Monica tucked a loose hair behind her ear, kissed her temple, and whispered something inaudible but pacifying. Greg hovered nearby, trying to act casual, but he kept shifting his weight like he was on a cracked sidewalk. He wiped his palms on his pant legs. Once, twice, a third time. Jenna, the planner, was pretending to arrange bounty on a table, but her eyes were locked on Monica. Not the bride, not the guests. Monica. Then her hands slipped to her clipboard. She did not open the envelope, but her fingers rested on it now like it was humming. Rachel turned to Greg. "Are you okay?" Greg fumbled a smile. "Just hot." "It is warm in here." It was not. The AC was blasting. Everyone else looked comfortable. Guests continued arriving and the murmurs gained weight. A man I did not recognize asked a staff member if the father of the bride would be making a toast. She shrugged. Another whispered to his wife. "Did not Alan put her through college?" Weird. He is not here. A pattern was forming, one Monica had clearly not accounted for. Because here is the thing. You can erase a man from the program, the slideshow, the lineup, but you cannot erase him from memory, and I had not been some absentee stepdad. I was at every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every emergency room visit for every broken toe and sprained ankle. I was known. People noticed the silence. They noticed that the seat beside Monica in the front row had no nameplate. They noticed Greg kept glancing at the chapel entrance like he was expecting a last-minute showdown. They noticed Rachel's eyes keep drifting not toward the altar, not toward her bridesmaids, but toward the back doors like she was waiting for something she did not even realize she had been robbed of. And in that rising tension, the envelope began to take on weight. Jenna picked it up once, thumbed the red seal, put it back. Her eyes flicked toward the doors, then to Greg, then to Monica, who was now hunched over her phone again, typing fast, deleting, retyping. Her smile was gone. Her wine was untouched. And that is when the best man leaned to a groomsman and whispered, "She is married, right? Like Monica is still married to Alan." The groomsman's face went pale. The illusion was still holding, but only just. And Jenna, she had just moved the envelope to the front of her clipboard. The quartet began to play. Vivaldi's Spring of all things, a song that chirps with optimism, full of hope and rebirth and other things Monica has not experienced unmedicated in years. Rachel, standing tall in her heels now, looped her arm around Greg's. He looked like he had swallowed a handful of thumbtacks. His smile twitched with every camera flash. The crowd stood. Phones rose. This was the moment. And then Monica ruined it. She swept toward Jenna, clipboard and all. Heels clacking like a threat. "Quick note," she whispered loud enough to make Jenna blank. "We are switching the order a bit. Greg and Rachel will enter after the officiant gives the reading from Corinthians. Rachel wants to walk in on her own after a few lines." Jenna blinked. That was not discussed. It is what she wants. Please make it happen. Jenna did not nod. She did not even speak. She simply reached for the envelope. Monica's eyes darted down. "What is that?" Jenna broke the seal, pulled out the document, read the first page and froze. She did not gasp. She did not stammer, but her mouth parted slightly like the oxygen in the chapel had turned to smoke. Her lips twitched once, then again. Her hand began to tremble. The envelope slipped slightly between her fingers. "What is it?" Monica whispered, her tone now veering somewhere between panic and denial. Jenna did not answer. She simply turned toward the officiant, heels clicking louder now, spine rigid like a soldier walking toward a court-martial. She whispered something too quiet to hear over the violins, and he nodded once, then again. Then slowly, he closed his book. The music kept playing. The guests kept standing, but the people at the front of the chapel were no longer part of the ceremony. They were part of something else now, something breaking. Jenna walked off the altar directly. No hesitation, not backstage, not into the wings, straight down the middle aisle. Clipboard clutched like a detonator, expression unreadable. Rachel frowned. Greg's arm tensed under hers. Monica moved fast, following Jenna with a whisper hiss of chiffon. "What is that? What are you doing?" Jenna did not turn around. She headed toward the vendor's row, the photographer, the caterer, the audio-visual guy, and tapped each one on the shoulder. Quiet words exchanged, nods, concerned glances. A sound tech unplugged a speaker. A chef folded his apron. Rachel was now halfway down the aisle with Greg when the officiant stepped away from the podium. No one said anything, but every guest felt it. That shift in the air like a storm front rolling over an open field, like someone had lit a match in a room full of gas and had not dropped it yet. Rachel turned to Greg. "What is happening?" Greg had no answer. His mouth opened, then closed again. Back near the bar, someone whispered, "What the hell is going on?" And in that silence, Jenna emerged, holding a second envelope, the one marked Exhibit A. She did not speak. She walked straight up to Monica, whose smile had cracked wide open into a terrified rictus, and handed her the file. Monica opened it. She read the first line, and then she dropped it like it burned. The crowd gasped. Greg turned white. Rachel screamed. And the illusion, the perfect wedding, the happy bride, the proud mother exploded. It happened in silence first. No screaming, no crashing glasses, just movement. Quiet, efficient, terrifyingly deliberate. The violinist stopped playing, not all at once, but one by one, like lights flicking off in a building. The cello player looked around confused, then packed up her bow. The photographer lowered his camera, reached into his bag, began removing batteries. Then came the caterers, plates half prepped, trays of stuffed mushrooms untouched. One by one, they folded napkins, turned off burners, wheeled carts toward the service exit. The scent of rosemary and lamb drifted with them like smoke from a fire that had already started. The officiant, a retired pastor with a Santa Claus beard and a slightly crooked collar, placed his book down softly, deliberately, then stepped away from the altar without a word. Rachel noticed it all at once. "What is going on?" she asked. Her voice cracked. No one answered. She turned to Monica, who stood off to the side, clutching a second sheet. Jenna had just handed her a single printed page, standard letter size, white, no flair, no seals, just ink, just truth. Monica's eyes moved left to right, fast at first, then slower still. Her lips formed silent syllables. Her hand trembled, then both hands. Her entire body sagged like scaffolding, collapsing one beam at a time. Then came the gasp, not from her, but from someone in the third row. Because Monica did not just drop the paper. She dropped herself straight down, knees buckled, arms limp, like the weight of what she read had unplugged her from gravity. Her head hit the carpeted floor with a soft thud, barely audible, but final in that way only collapse can be. Rachel screamed, the kind of scream that makes everyone freeze. Not because they care about what is wrong, but because something is wrong, and no one knows what kind yet. "Mom! Mom!" Rachel rushed over, heels clicking frantically. She knelt beside her, shaking Monica's shoulders, sobbing now. "Somebody help!" Greg did not move. He just stood there, 2 steps behind Rachel, still in Alan's tux, still trying to understand why the photographer had packed up without taking a single ceremony photo. His eyes darted from Monica to the planner to the fallen envelope beside her. He did not reach down. He did not dare. A guest stepped forward to help Rachel, then another. Someone shouted, "Call an ambulance!" But no one pulled a phone, because in that moment, all eyes were moving somewhere else, toward Jenna, the wedding planner, who stood off to the side, clipboard folded against her chest like a shield, lips pressed into a straight white line, calm, composed, like she had rehearsed this. And still, not a single word was spoken from her mouth. She did not need to say it. The file spoke for itself, because even if you did not see the details, did not read the room numbers, the receipts, the notarized letter, you saw Monica fall, and you saw Rachel break, and you saw Greg stand there, like a man who knew the lights had just come on in a room he was not supposed to be in. Someone, maybe a cousin, leaned forward and picked up the sheet Monica had dropped, read it, blinked, and without a word passed it to the woman beside him, who gasped, then handed it to someone else within 60 seconds. At least 12 people had read the opening lines of Alan's Revenge, and the panic spread like wildfire, dressed in lace and floral arrangements. Someone knocked over a wine glass. A chair scraped back violently. A groomsman cursed under his breath. Rachel looked up through wet mascara and screamed again. Not a name, not a question, just pain. She looked around, confused, scanning the room like she was waking up from a dream that had suddenly turned to glass in her hands. Still, Greg did not move, not to help Monica, not to comfort Rachel, not to run. He knew. And the guests, they knew too, because weddings do not unravel like this. Not unless something fundamental has been lied about. And in the chaos, no one noticed a white Toyota Tacoma pull away from the ridge above the vineyard. Quiet, steady, gone. The envelope was never meant to scream. It was designed to whisper, then detonate. Inside was a simple one-page directive, signed and notarized the night before. If this envelope is opened during the ceremony, it means I have been intentionally removed from my position as father of the bride. All contracts listed below are hereby revoked, effective immediately. Vendors are released from obligations and instructed to cancel services without refund. No explanation required. Alan Holbrook. Underneath that, in clean bullet points, were vendor names, contact codes, and cancellation clauses, each bearing Alan's signature. The photographer, the caterer, the florist, the quartet, everyone. And beside each entry was a date. Services paid in full by Alan Holbrook. No ambiguity, no Monica. The vendors had not left out of confusion or disorganization. They had received explicit instructions. If Jenna Wilkes opens the envelope, walk out quietly. No drama, no questions. But that was only the fuse. The explosive payload came in the second folder, the one that hit Monica like a sledgehammer to the soul. It contained a professionally bound report, 27 pages long, with high-resolution photo evidence, itemized financial breakdowns, and a timeline of Monica's 6-year affair with Greg. It began with credit card transactions, hotel stays, restaurants she swore she only visited with the girls. Then came the Venmo transfers, then the emails, some with attachments. Room 218, Oak Ridge Marriott, Room 342, Hilton Garden in Columbus. Same day Rachel had her junior recital, and Monica claimed to be working late. And then a notarized statement. I, Alan Holbrook, having confirmed the infidelity of my wife Monica Holbrook, through professionally gathered evidence and revoking her access to all joint financial accounts, trusts, and assets under my control. This revocation includes any usage of my funds toward the wedding of Rachel Benson, for which I am the sole financial sponsor. All future transactions attempted by Monica Holbrook using shared funds shall be considered fraudulent and reported as such. Signed, witnessed, dated. There were also printed photographs enclosed in a plastic sleeve, with copies earmarked for distribution if needed. Jenna had not handed those out, not yet. But the fact they existed was enough, because even the hint of truth in those pages was radioactive. By the time half the guests had passed it down the aisle like a cursed relic, whispers had turned to certainties. She was cheating with him during college while Alan paid for it all. Jesus, was this whole wedding built on his money? Monica has been lying for years. Rachel sat on the floor, still clutching Monica's limp hand as someone else dabbed her cheek with a napkin. Her lipstick had run, her veil hung askew, her eyes darted, reading lips, expressions, the vibrations of betrayal in a room that had once felt like a fairy tale. Greg finally moved. He took one step back, then another, then turned toward the side door like a man retreating from a battlefield he thought he owned. But it was too late. People had seen, people knew. There was no curtain to close now, no champagne to serve to wash the taste down. Because Alan had not just exposed Monica and Greg. He had done something far more cutting. He had let them build the stage. He had let them rehearse the play. He had even let them charge tickets to an audience full of friends. Then, right as the spotlight hit, he pulled the power and left them naked in the dark. Strategic checkmate, no yelling, no vengeance speech, just truth, fully armed. From the ridge, the vineyard looked peaceful. Still, like nothing had happened, but even from that distance, Alan could see the ripples. Jenna was the first to leave, clipboard gone, arms crossed, sunglasses on. She walked with the posture of someone who had done her job exactly right, even if it meant setting fire to someone else's fantasy. Then came the guests, like ants from a cracked nest. They poured from the chapel in uneven clusters, some whispering, some silent, a few already on their phones. The buzz was spreading faster than champagne ever would have. He saw Greg slink out a side door, still in Alan's tux, shirt unbuttoned, face ghost white. Monica did not appear, neither did Rachel. Alan did not wait to see if they would. He sat in the cab of his truck, key already in the ignition. Air conditioning off, windows down. The breeze carried the scent of grapevines and roasted garlic. It would have been a beautiful day. He did not smile. He did not puff his chest or mutter something smug like, "That will teach him." He just watched the cost of years, the slow bleed of dignity, trust, and love that he had kept bottled for Rachel's sake, spill out publicly in real time. Not because he wanted revenge, because some stories only end clean when the lies are stripped bare and the audience is still watching. His phone buzzed on the center console. "Rachel, why would you ruin my wedding?" He stared at the screen. No name, just the text. There was a time he would have answered, would have explained, would have pointed out the years, the sacrifices, the checks signed without question, the hugs when her biological dad did not show, the driveway snow shoveled before sunrise so she would never slip on her way to school. But those words would not land now. Not with a girl still clinging to the fantasy her mother built. He let the message sit there a moment longer, glowing in the sunlight. Then, without fanfare, he deleted it. No reply, no read receipt, just silence. He shifted the truck into drive. Gravel crunched beneath the tires as he pulled away from the hill. No rear-view glances, no slow turns, just a clean forward motion. Below, the chaos would take days to settle, maybe longer. But Alan was done being a character in someone else's lie. And for the first time in years, he did not feel like a ghost.